all of us in this time. So we took last week off and we're ready to jump back into our regular meeting. The intent of this weekly call is to get updates from our partners at the city, the chamber, and Cal Poly, our other partners in economic development, and connect with all of you as business leaders. So thank you for being here. We've got about 30 people on the call today, and we're also broadcasting live on Facebook. So if you have questions on Facebook and you're watching, pop that in the comments. Otherwise, please do join in the chat, and we will go ahead and get started. I hope everybody is staying safe from the smoke. I know I've been excited about the fact that my mask is doing double duty these days. And for those of you who work in the service industry and have people who are waiting tables outdoors, I hope that they're staying safe and able to protect their lungs as we deal with the terrible wildfire smoke. So, I'm having some technical problems here. That's what I get for taking last week off. Rachel, could you share your screen, please? My apologies, everybody. You'd think we've been doing Zoom for exactly 6 months now. I think that March 14th was a day that we went into work from home mode. So we're celebrating the 6-month anniversary of living in this interesting moment. The Facebook Live is in our downtown business group. So you need to be a member of the business group in order to see the Facebook Live. Hopefully it's going there now. Thank you, Rachel. We have a little bit of screen sharing, so it's not just a bunch of talking heads today. So our Downtown SLO Board of Directors and our liaisons met and did some very important review of our bylaws. And those of you who are on the call, many of you may serve on committees with Downtown SLO. In normal times, when we are fully staffed and we have all of our programs and events running, we have had 7 committees. And with our reduced staff presence and also just the reduction in the number of events that we're able to have, it's simply not possible for us to have all of those committees. So in the new bylaws, which were adopted by the Board of Directors at the meeting this past month, 2 weeks ago, there is a restructuring of our committees. So instead of having the 7 committees that we used to have, we will now have 3 committees. We will have an environment committee, we'll have an economy committee, and we'll have an innovation committee. So we're going to be taking those 7 committees and reaching out to all of the members of those committees and asking them which one they want to serve on, and repurposing the various programs and activities that were overseen by those committees into those 3 segments, which again are environment, economy, and innovation. So thank you to those of you on the board who served on that bylaws review task force. It's a bit of a non-exciting platform when you are working on the board of directors, but it's very important. So thanks for your work on that. And we continue to review our financials monthly and look at ways to bring in earned revenue to keep our organization going so that we can continue to support all of the downtown businesses. And up next, we will talk a little bit about today's COVID-19 reality. Rachel? I'm going to invite Rachel Maiorino to take the screen now and talk a little bit about where we're at for COVID-19. Oh, looks like Rachel's audio is not working. Okay. Gosh, we're having a technical mishap day. It is definitely a Monday. Thank you all for being so kind and accommodating here. Okay, I will go ahead and take this piece, and you can see the slides in front of you. So we do have 522 in the city of SLO. And we're still in the first wave. So we do have expanded testing available, and that includes more expanded testing, I believe, on the Cal Poly campus. And we may have more information about that coming up. The big question mark above everybody's minds is really what's going to happen with Cal Poly. And I know that I was downtown this weekend and I saw a dramatic uptick in the number of people out downtown shopping and enjoying businesses and dining out. And I would recommend actually that the Cal Poly move-in structure of doing it over 10 days instead of one weekend just be something that we adopt forever going forward. Our grocery stores really appreciated it, and so did our businesses. But there's no doubt that Cal Poly students are back in our community, and we're hoping that they will be responsible and not add to growing case numbers. So on the next slide, you can see that we are still in the purple, which is the worst color you can be in the state of California. No offense to the color purple. I actually like the color purple. Some counties last week were released down to the red area, which is the substantial instead of widespread. And that means that they have invited some indoor activities to take place. For example, Whitney in our office was up in Napa over the weekend, and she said that there was indoor dining in Napa County. So interesting to see that happen. We hope that we can continue to keep our numbers low, but we're not at the point right now where we're able to go ahead. I invite everybody to tune into the governor's updates. He usually goes on Facebook Live at around noon or 11 daily, and there's lots of information coming about the color tiered system and also other counties as they might move through this tiered system. And there's the link for the California Safer Economy website if you want to learn more about that program. On the next slide, we're ready to have a very important presentation. We've invited, we keep track of all of the things that happen at the city council meetings so that you don't have to. And we're excited to invite Chris Reed from the city of San Luis Obispo to share a little bit about a really important initiative that was passed and adopted by the City Council earlier this month, and that is the Climate Action Plan for Community Recovery. So Chris, thank you for being here on the call, and hopefully you have not caught our tech bug that is going around. Welcome to the Downtown Slow Response and Recovery call, Chris.
Thanks, Bettina. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
You can hear me. So no, we're good. All right. Well, thanks everyone for allowing us to be here this morning. I just want to take 10 or so minutes to talk about our climate action plan that was just recently adopted by our city council. I think just the earlier discussion around the grouping of your subcommittees into environment, economy, and innovation is really a perfect entryway, because we see climate action not as the kind of thing that is only an environmental issue, but really itself sits right at the middle of environment, economy, and innovation. And so hopefully, oh, sorry. The video wasn't on, sorry about that. So hopefully that'll be clear as we move forward. All right, so just, we could probably, not that you'd want to, but I could probably talk about this stuff for days at a time. So in order to condense it down, I'm gonna give a really quick overview of what the plan is, and then we'll focus mostly on, if you feel interested or compelled to take action, what some avenues for you to do that might be. This is not the first time we've had a climate plan. We adopted one in 2012 and have been implementing it over the better part of the last decade. Really in 2017, with our budget cycle, we identified climate action as a major city goal for the first time, and have had it as a high priority item in our agency ever since then. In September of 2018, Council directed us to begin to pursue what's called a carbon neutrality target. So before, we had said in our first plan, let's reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 15% over the next 10 years. In September, Council said, actually, consistent with the science and consistent with what other leadership communities are doing, let's get to 0 in 15 years. So it's quite a ambitious change in direction, but one that really is reflected in the science, and really the opportunity in front of us to have a green, clean local economy. So we worked on that for a year and a half, had met with many of you, in fact, and had dozens of outreach events. We spoke with over 1,000 community members, and then just here in August, we finally updated our plan. The plan, oh, right, and sorry, the one thing we always want to highlight here is that although we do focus a lot on planning, it's also really important to us that we do and we act, sort of the Cal Poly Learn by Doing motto. And so while we have been updating our plan, we've also been doing many sort of innovative things in our community, ranging from joining Monterey Bay Community Power to conserving over 500 acres of open space to one of the largest energy efficiency retrofits we've ever completed up at our water treatment plant. So Bettina, if I can, I'll share the slide deck out afterward, and we won't read through all of these, but just wanted to leave that there, that while we're planning, we're also being informed by the things we're up to. So we have broken our plan into 2 volumes. And the second volume is the kind of thing you'd see in most government documents. We give an introduction, a technical background, we show all our work, we show all the actions and all of the ways we'll implement it. But we know that in many ways in the past, climate action and work around sustainability has really been focused on technology and on discussions around in many ways, the concessions we'll have to make to achieve our targets. But technological changes are happening so fast, and the economies of so much of this is changing, that we really see a carbon neutrality target and achieving it as a pathway to a vibrant and thriving future. And so to highlight that, we really wanted to focus our plan on people and what it'll be like in 2035 if we're able to achieve our targets and get past COVID, stimulate our economy, and have a low greenhouse gas emissions city. And so to do that, our plan really is a series of 5 short stories. And the short stories look like this. We have stories here on the left, and we actually compiled these by speaking with over 90 local community members who submitted their own short stories. And essentially, there's a story told from the perspective of 2035. These are a couple of young entrepreneurs who are currently emerging out of our hothouse here in the community. And this imagines what a day in their life might be 15 years from now. And on the right here, we have the actions we're committing to today that enable that future to occur. So we have a link in our presentation here that can take you to the plan, but we really recommend that you take a look at this volume 1 and see what stories resonate with you. And there's even a storytelling activity that if you want to submit more to us, you can. And it's just a really fun and interesting way to think about the future. Across the entire plan, we're committing to 27 foundational actions over the next 3 years to either begin or complete. And those actions are organized into 6 categories. We call them the 6 pillars, but they're really just 6 categories of actions. And this feels like the right level of detail just to get a sense of the types of things we're focused on over the next 3 years and into the future. So our first is just leading by example. So this is really important to us that we actually achieve the target ahead of the community so that we can take on innovative projects and programs and really share lessons learned and successes out with the community. The second is clean energy systems. We're working towards having carbon neutral and eventually 100% renewable electricity by 2030. Green buildings, this is really focused on finding all the available financing tools out there, and incentives and programs, and using our power to be able to convene those and stack those programs to make anyone who wants to make improvements to their buildings really accessible and affordable. The fourth pillar or grouping of actions is around connected community, and this is focused on if you're taking a trip in our town to somewhere else in our town, you have access to bike lanes and sidewalks and really high quality electric transit so that you're able to get around without using your car if you want to. But if you want to have a car or if you have to take regional trips, that we have a robust electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So you're able to use that if that's what you want to use. The fifth is circular economy. And right now, this is focused on getting as much organic waste out of our landfill and into our high-tech organic waste facility out by the airport as possible. But in the future, we really see a lot of opportunity here for innovation and understanding what circular economy could look like at a much larger scale so that the resources we're using stay in the community for products that are purchased in the community and recycled in the community. And finally, natural solutions. And this really builds on the emerging and exciting research that when we take better care of our open spaces and we plant more trees, we can actually suck carbon out of the sky and put it in the ground, but while also making our open spaces healthier and making our communities more verdant and green and healthy and all that. So this is a big chart that I will not go to here. All it is to say is that each of those groupings of actions, we've actually worked with technical experts to estimate how much we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by with those groupings of actions. And the point here is that on the far right, even when we do everything, we still think we can't get to zero by 2035. That's just how ambitious this target is. We want to be really transparent about the fact that we have a plan to get a lot of the way there, but we're going to really need community innovation. We're going to need support from the state and federal government. Sure, but really in our community, what can we do as community groups and organizations to learn more, to advance technology, and make sure that those innovations and advancements that occur from our companies are then shared out with other communities throughout our state and nation. This is just one final footnote to the plan. In addition to what we're up to, it's really important that it's also how we do it. So we have some administrative actions that it's not the most exciting title, but they're near and dear to our heart. I won't go through all of these, but we'll just note that we've committed to updating this plan with every other financial plan or budgeting process, so that we continue to learn from our successes and mistakes and improve and continually improve in a way that's tied to our budget cycle. And this one's really important to us, given everything that's happening right now in the world, that we're going to implement this plan with an equity lens. So whenever we take one of our foundational actions and start to implement it, our project plan right at the beginning talks about how the decision-making process will include community members that really represent the entirety of our community, how the costs and benefits, both today and tomorrow, are shared equitably across our community. So that's the plan itself, and like any plan, it's not an endpoint, it's really just the beginning. And so we don't, we're happy that it was adopted and we're excited to get to work, but really this is just the beginning of our work. And our immediate work on our end is focused on how we're going to achieve carbon neutrality in our governmental operations. And so that's what we're focused on right now. And then we're also beginning to work with financing and funding providers, as well as other energy organizations throughout the state, to really understand best how we can support building owners, residential or non-residential, to improve their properties if they want to. So then the question I think many folks have, and we hear it all the time, is that's all good and great, but what can I do right now? And maybe you're not so inclined, there's a million things going on, and of course, we all totally understand that. And for those of you that are interested in learning more about how you or your organization can help contribute to the community's success and reducing our emissions and improving our local quality of life, one of the simplest things you can do, I know many of you I see on the line here have done this, is reach out to the SLO Green Business Network. And so there's a local organization that's part of a statewide network that you give them a call, they'll come out with a qualifying checklist, they'll provide staff assistance to help you get certified as a green business. Through the improvements that they'll help you make, you can save money, you can improve your sort of indoor air quality and other things for improved employee wellness, and you can really use this for marketing benefit as well. I've left some information about the program and contact information here. So again, when the slide deck goes out, please feel free to reach out to EcoSLO, who administers the program. And we also have heard a number of folks that are really concerned about the heat that we've experienced, the wildfire smoke we've experienced, and asking, what are we doing about that? Well, right now we're just kicking off or sort of a first part of a grant-funded program to do comprehensive climate change projections for our communities. So what will heat look like in the future? What will our wildfire vulnerability look like? And once we have that, we're going to develop a policy framework to really integrate deep into all the plans and programs that we have in our city. And of course, this builds on existing resilience work that we've already done. For example, all the work our fire department's done, our utilities do to make sure that our water and wastewater systems are resilient to the shocks of climate change and other impacts. In fact, we do have a survey open right now. Again, we're just at the beginning of this project, and I really wanted to share this survey link out to this organization in particular, as we think, obviously the business community is going to be critically important in hearing your voice and understanding what you need to become more resilient as the climate continues to change. So again, the link is there, and we'd really ask the favor that you guys, folks, if you have the time, complete that. The final thing I want to touch on really quick is just plastics and organic waste. A couple of years ago, the city passed a couple of ordinances and internal policies around single-use plastic containers. I know we work closely with Downtown Association to understand what that might mean for membership and events like Farmers Market. And of course, with COVID, we've seen many of those initiatives fall by the wayside, mostly for very good reasons. This isn't my field of expertise, but I did speak with our utility staff and folks at the Integrated Waste Management Authority. And so what I understand is in process right now is that they're going to be rolling out educational information focused on what reusables are allowed, making sure that there's a really clear understanding consistent with county health of where single-use containers can be avoided and how that can be done in a healthy and safe way. We'll all continue to monitor upcoming legislation and ballot initiatives. Just last week, in fact, very narrowly, a bill failed in the House that would have radically changed how we deal with plastics and would have affected all of our operations. So we expect things like that will be upcoming. And then we'll really be ramping up our organic and green waste education. This both implements our climate plan, but it also helps us stay consistent with the recent state law that helps us, that really directs us and mandates that we have to get as much green waste out of our garbage bins and into our green waste bins as possible. So, and I don't know how many of you are aware of our anaerobic digester out by the airport, but it's this really amazing cutting edge facility that takes all of our green waste and food waste in our community and turns it into clean electricity and high quality compost. So there's a link here that you should all feel free to check out. I think they're doing virtual tours this year, and it's just a really neat thing to see and have in our community. So that's the whirlwind tour of what we're up to in some ways that you can participate. I have a lot more information available if there's any questions, but for now I'll leave it at that. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. I know there's so much in this plan, and when you're so close to it, the question of what can we do is really, really important. So yes, I definitely recommend touring the Hitachi Zosen biodigester. It's amazing. And we also in our office went through the Green Business Audit Program about a year and a half ago. And it was really educational just to learn about what we were doing in our office to consume energy more responsibly. Highly recommend that program as well. Some members of our board of directors and some of our staff went on a tour of a fantastic environmental asset in our downtown last week. We did the deep dark tour of the creek that runs through Mission Plaza and went underground and put on waders, and our city biologist, Freddie Oddie, took us and showed us how all the stuff that we put into our waste bins does dramatically affect the ecosystem of our downtown. So we're hoping that we'll also invite Freddie to come and talk a little bit about the biology and the natural wildlife that exists within our downtown and what we all as business owners can do to create a safe habitat for all living creatures. Chris, I did have some questions about the resilient component that you mentioned and that survey. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're seeing in the research of, our preparedness for fires and natural disasters and how that fits into the climate plan?
Sure, yeah. So I think, it's not the most fun subject to talk about, but it's completely unavoidable right now. We've seen about 1 degree Celsius of warming since pre-industrial times. And so these are the kinds of impacts we had broadly expected. And we're thinking that even if we can achieve our ambitious climate plan on a global scale, we'll see probably about double that warming. So, we really want to understand, what does that mean for the number of high heat days we have in our community? 120 degrees last week is shocking. Is that something we'll see once every 10 years or 10 times every year? And what does that mean for, how we think about providing services, how we think about cooling centers, for example, as an integral way to make sure that folks have access to a safe, cool space. Then there's other things like, how do we think precipitation is going to change? What does that mean for flooding, in San Luis Creek? And then what do we think about wildfire, both how is our ecosystem around us, susceptible to wildfire, but what does that mean for the energy systems we use? And what does that mean for air quality and all these things? And so there's a really technical aspect of this project where there's a lot of modeling done and understanding that. But the thing that's really interesting for us is the human and social and economic side of it. Is like, okay, well, what does that mean for what does that mean for our future of our businesses? What does it mean for the future of how we think about providing services? And I will say the thing that I'm really proud of our agency for is we've been thinking about how we can be resilient to change for a very long time. I mean, we've had even climate change as a topic in the water and wastewater element of our general plan. We've had that for years. And so we've been thinking a lot about this. And I think our relative resilience to some of these things we're seeing this year are a symptom of that. But at the end of the day, we'll be developing a broad list of strategies and policies and all these things. And then we have what's called the general plan, which is sort of the development and environmental blueprint for our community, right? And one of the required pieces by state law is what's called a safety element. So this is the basic policy framework for our city for how we think about health and human safety. And so we're going to be we'll be doing the statewide minimum for that, but adding on to it this additional piece of resilience and adaptation. And that's going to be, once that foundational policy is there, which will be the focus of this work effort, then all the ways that we think about create programs and projects across all of our agency will have that thinking kind of embedded in it.
Thank you very much. And then I know you said that circular economy and single-use plastics maybe is not your specific area of expertise, but I'm sitting here drinking coffee out of a paper cup, and I had trained myself successfully to use a reusable cup. At Concerts in the Plaza, we have reusable cups. When are we going to be able to bring our own cups?
Yeah, and so I think that's in talking with IWMA and our utilities folks, I think there's going to be, there are legitimate human and health concerns with reusable and the global pandemic. But then there are some things we're learning that, reusables are totally fine and safe when used in certain ways. And so I think that information will be getting out. And unfortunately, the answer is just that it's complicated and it depends. So I think that's kind of where we're going to be for now. But certainly the long term, just the direction of the state, the direction of just the global, let alone local waste management industries, is that we're going to have to create a lot less waste in order to have any kind of, in order to keep moving forward. And so we anticipate, whether it's state law or whether it's other initiatives, that in the next several years that we'll be returning to those types of programs.
Great. And, as we know, like sustainability, you can have something that's sustainable in the short term and then something that's sustainable over the long term. So we've been living through a short-term emergency, and then the climate change phenomenon is a much longer term issue. So it's a challenge for sure. Right. But I really hope that we're able to move into more of a shared cup scenario. I know that seems like such a small thing, but it really is part of the culture of the downtown. And also I like to drink a lot of coffee. So there you have it.
Yeah, and if folks are interested, the city of Amsterdam just adopted a sustainability plan that's focused on this concept of a donut economy. And there's some good books on the donut economy. But the idea is even as this big circle, and even something as small as cups, right? If we can create a local economic reason to have a company exist that can recycle cups, that's just one more place that has head of household jobs, provide economic stimulus in our community. And it's just one more place that money isn't leaving our community.
Oh, your connection's going.
That's good. No. Can you still hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, it's just got a little patchy there.
Yeah, it's the three Zoom school meetings aren't helping out things. But yeah, if we can think about circular economy or recycling or single cups, not just because it's an environmental benefit, but because there's real potential for local economic development and innovation. And I think we can see the full vision of what we've heard from folks in our community.
Definitely. Well, there's so much to talk about here, Chris. Thank you for coming and making this plan, and we'll make sure to spread the information about the resilience survey. And we do connect with IWMA, and we encourage you all to just, as you are moving through, trying to figure out what your business's 6-month, 12-month plan is, if you can please consider the environmental impact of every way that you conduct your business. We really appreciate it. And that SLO Green Business audit is a really great program to enter into. So thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we're going to invite another friend from the city. Interim Director of Economic Development, Lee Johnson, is with us on the call. Lee, how are you doing today?
Good, Bettina. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'll make it quick. Really, now that we're 3+ months into Open SLO and we're getting ready to head into let's say winter / rainy / whatever season it's going to turn out to be. We're working on coming out with some guidelines on kind of what we've learned so far for people who have dining in their parking lot or sidewalk dining or in parklets or whatever that may be. And then also what the requirements are around umbrellas, tents, canopies, all that kind of stuff, and what needs a permit, what doesn't, what's allowed in the right of way, and all those things. We hope to have those done this week and get them out and circulated, and then try and set up some sort of Zoom meeting or something next week. So anybody who has questions and all that, we can take those and then create more of an FAQ so everyone is ready as we head into kind of the colder and more wet months, hopefully anyway. So other than that, just trying to survive the smoke and kind of keep everything moving forward. That's it for me today. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Lee. And as always, if you have questions, you can contact him. Lee is very available by email and phone. Thank you so much. Up next, we have Jim D'Antona from the SLO Chamber. Jim, how are you doing today?
Doing fabulous, Bettina. Thanks for having me. And glad to see everybody on. Just kind of a quick update. One of the, obviously the most important things we're kind of working on right now is we're working towards a new, we have our elections coming up here in November, and we're less than 60 days out from that. And we're hosting candidate forums on 3 different levels. Today's at 4:30, from 4:30 to 6. You can jump over to our events page on our website to register to join us. We'll be hosting almost all the candidates who will be running for city council. Obviously, extremely important time, as one of the current members has decided not to run. So somebody new will be joining the council. So we'd encourage everybody to come. We do a great, I think it's one of the best ways. I've been in politics nearly my whole life, and really a great opportunity to meet these candidates. So you get a chance to talk to them in a small breakout room rather than just listen to us fire off questions and have them all kind of give the same response. In this opportunity, we'll break you out into different groups, and you'll get a chance to sit with each of the candidates and talk to them about something you care about or want to hear about. And obviously, this is extremely important, as we just heard on all the issues kind of going on in the city. These folks are going to help direct one of the key points in our city's history on how we move through COVID. So I encourage everyone to join us at the SLO City Council Candidate Forum today, 4:30 to 6. And then next Monday, equally as important, is the Mayoral Candidate Forum, where we'll have all 4 of the candidates running for mayor as part of that conversation. And then finally, on the 28th, we will be hosting, I think it's the 28th, it'll be coming out shortly, is the state candidates. We have our current senator, Bill Monning, who is termed out, And so we have the new candidates running to replace him. Additionally, we will potentially have the assembly candidates on that part of that conversation too. So that'll be coming on Monday the 28th. So the next 3 Mondays at these times, we will be hosting candidate forums, and we would encourage everyone to be a part of those, but especially for the SLO City candidate forums, as these are the folks that are going to help shape our future. And we want you to make sure to get to ask the tough questions that you have, see if these folks have thought about it, and what does it look like as we move on to the next, the post, well, I don't know if it would be post-COVID, but as we move through the COVID crisis, these issues will be huge. So that's kind of the big issues we're working on, and we hope you'll be able to join us.
Great, thank you, Jim. Excuse me. I am curious if there are plans for different questions to be asked, if the candidates will be asked questions specifically about downtown.
Well, that's why we actually want folks to join, rather than, so each candidate, the way these are set up, each candidate will give will present for a few minutes beforehand, before we jump into a conversation on in the individual groups. So we are hoping each of those folks will come to from the Downtown Association or from the downtown groups or downtown interest to ask questions of each of these candidates to see how they respond to it. We will have some questions if conversation stalls. I don't think that will be a problem, but we want the people who attend to be able to ask those specific questions, not just generic questions about how do you envision downtown or what do you support on downtown. We want to have specific questions on how do you think the open SLO is going? How would you change parking, or what would you do? Those questions that they're really concerned about. To join us. And that's why we're encouraging everyone to come out, because you will actually get to be the ones that ask the questions.
Great, got it. And just a reminder to folks on the call that our organization, Downtown SLO, does not endorse candidates. So you are going to be the ones who need to make your own decisions here. As a 501c6 organization, we do not endorse candidates. We do occasionally endorse different propositions that are on the ballot, but not candidates. So we encourage you to sign up. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thanks, Bettina.
All right, and up next, Courtney from Cal Poly. This is a big moment for Cal Poly. Thank you for joining us today. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks, Bettina, and thanks, Jim, too, and the Chamber for hosting those forums. I am looking forward to participating tonight, and I think for a lot of us in these roles where we're often interfacing with elected officials, it can be, natural and easy and accessible to be with candidates, but just opening it up to a broader population, I think, is really important. So thank you, Jim, for doing that. And as for Cal Poly, Bettina, I'm glad you mentioned being downtown over the weekend. I made the mistake of going to Target yesterday and ended up having to put my items back because the lines were all the way around the store. So we are definitely welcoming students back to the community. And since I spoke with you all a few weeks ago, there are 3 major changes or updates that have taken place. One of them, Chancellor White announced on Thursday that all 23 CSUs will remain primarily in a distance learning mode through the rest of the 2020-2021 academic year. The second is that Cal Poly launched a new tracking dashboard just this past Friday that can be found on our coronavirus website, that either, if Rachel beats me to it, she can put it in the chat, or I can put it as soon as I'm done speaking with you all. And that tracks number of cases, who's in isolation, who's in quarantine, and breaks it down to the last 24 hours, and then also total since March. And then the third big update is that we added a requirement that all students and staff that are coming onto campus for any reason have to do a daily self-screening. So at about 4 a.m., everyone either gets a email or a text, depending on what you've signed up for, that goes through a checklist with all coronavirus symptoms. If you have any, then you get a red X on your screen. And if you don't have any, then you get a green screen, and that you're required to show that before you enter any classroom or building on campus. In addition to those requirements, students, as many of you know, have been required to submit a negative COVID-19 test that was taken within 3 days of arriving on campus. And also they're required to complete online training. Students living off campus without a reason to visit campus are still strongly encouraged to take all of those same measures. Classes started today, so we have our 11% of classes in person that are beginning, and all of our virtual classes started today as well. We have less than 6,000 students taking face-to-face classes. Oh, there you go. There's the dashboard. Thanks, Rachel. Assuming Rachel did that, maybe Bettina. Thank you to whoever did it. In terms of housing, we have slightly less than 4,400 students living on campus. And to put that in context, we normally have almost double that, so 8,000 to 8,500. And all of those rooms are only holding one person in each room. As I've talked to you before about, we have a really robust communication effort going on with students to reduce risk, and encouraging them to take all the public health measures if they're anywhere on campus, leaving their rooms, wearing face coverings and physical distancing, washing hands often, all of that. And we also last week emailed all students with a list of activities they can safely do considering coronavirus, and that is, you know, everything from distancing at beaches to parks, the farmers markets in San Luis County that are open, and just a ton of things to do. I actually was looking at the list and thinking I haven't done some of those things in a long time and want to do them as well. We have a really strong communication effort with our expectations of student behavior on campus. We're working really closely with SLO PD. I was texting with them this morning just to ensure that students know that whether they violate public health orders on or off campus, they will be held accountable, and anything they do that increases risk to public health can result in suspension or expulsion. We also have the city of SLO, thank you, Lee, helping to further ensure compliance by enforcing the safety enhancement zone. So that's increased penalties for certain violations, and that's in effect until the local declaration of emergency is lifted. We talked about testing. We have opened up testing to any student who wants it. So if you're symptomatic, we will get you in right away, but asymptomatic students can get tested as well by appointment. We have a really comprehensive tracing investigation process going on. Quarantine, students who are symptomatic are being directed to self-quarantine in their rooms while an appointment is scheduled. Right now, I think the dashboard is gone, but we have 10 students in quarantine, and that's a Friday. And then we have 6 students currently in isolation. The isolation students are those that are living on campus, have been tested and been confirmed to be COVID-19 positive. We are moving those students into temporary designated isolation rooms on campus. We have about 175 of those. Students who live on campus are directed to self-isolate. And then for the students on campus, they have full wraparound services. There's so much more I could share with you, but I'll stop there and strongly encourage you, if you have more questions, to visit our website. And just really quickly, in terms of totals, since March, we have 70 students and 6 faculty and staff members who have tested positive positive as of Friday. I was talking to our team this morning. We do expect for those numbers to jump a little bit today, but I don't know exactly how much more. And then my final ask of all of you, and I asked this of the board of directors last week too, is to please help us correct misinformation. I have been fielding calls and emails with people really feeling a lot of fear for what's going to happen, which I completely understand. But some of it is based on things that they've heard that are not true. So if you can help us be a corrector of misinformation out there, we would so appreciate that. And with that, that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Courtney. And this is such a complicated situation. It's been really interesting to have the week by week update from you. Thank you for your thorough analysis each week. I have a couple of questions just that came up and might be more practical, but what's happening with on-campus dining?
Great question. So similar to, downtown, for our restaurants downtown, we do have some outdoor dining available, but if you have a meal plan on campus, you're mostly getting to-go meals. So you're mostly coming by and grabbing your boxed lunch, which, I mean, everything that Chris was saying about waste, it's, all of these things that we're trying to weigh. But for the most part, either students can eat outside, grab their meal and eat outside, or grab their meal and take it back to their residence hall.
Got it. Okay. So there's an opportunity for, this stuff to add up for sure.
Yeah.
The other question I had is, what kind of communication do you have with some of the main apartment buildings that are off campus, near campus? I'm thinking about, Mustang Village, places like that. Do you have contact with them?
We do. So in two different ways. We work really closely with Christine Wallace at SLO PD, the neighborhood outreach manager, and she has ongoing communication with them. And then our university housing is also, we launched a really extensive outreach program with property managers and owners in the past couple of years because of the Educated Renter Certificate program. And so we have definitely been sharing with them a lot of these measures and what we're telling students. And we know that a lot of those leases are the reason that the majority of our students said they were coming back to the community, whether or not we were 100% virtual, because they had already signed so many of those leases. And so long way to say, yes, we have ongoing communication with them.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm sure we'll have another update next week, and good luck this week as everything. I hope that you do not have the technical mishaps that we had at the beginning of this meeting, for example.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. We have some good news to share with all of you. We have a new member of our team joining us this week, and I'm going to invite Cassidy Shevlin to come on and introduce herself to all of you. So Cassidy, welcome to Downtown SLO.
Awesome. Thank you, Bettina. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassidy. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And yeah, so basically I am the new AmeriCorps member for the Friends of Downtown SLO. Just brief overview of what AmeriCorps is if you don't know. I kind of describe it as the Peace Corps, but in the States. So, it's a year of service, and it's all over. It's very complex. There are many programs, but this program specifically is the SLO VIP, which is the Volunteer Infrastructure Program. So there are quite a few of us. We were placed with either Cal Poly organizations or nonprofits in the community. And basically our role as an AmeriCorps member will be to create more sustainable volunteer programs for wherever we were placed. Yeah, so it's just a lot of recruiting volunteers, managing them, raising funds, and all of that jazz. So I'm very excited. I was a Cal Poly student and I graduated from Cal Poly, so I'm very excited to be back. I love this town and community. And yeah, the cohort that we have is wonderful, and I know that we're all going to do really great things for like organizations that we're with, the community and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much just a brief overview of what I will be doing, but I'm very excited and grateful to be here. So thank you all.
Well, we're so happy to have you, Cassidy, and it is Cassidy's first day with us. So we'll be learning and growing this program along with her. We're really excited that as an organization, we have the Friends of Downtown SLO 501c3 arm so that we can participate in this type of nonprofit infrastructure building. So look for emails from Cassidy and look for her smiling eyes around downtown. And we'll see you at next week's call as well. So welcome to the team. Wanted to touch on a few things that are coming up for our organization and for downtown in general. Number one, we have all been preparing for Cal Poly to start up again, and that means that we are in the middle of September. And in the middle of September, we start thinking about the holidays. And in every year since, 44 years ago, Downtown SLO has hosted a wonderful holiday parade that involves tens of thousands of people gathering on floats and as spectators in our downtown. And unfortunately, we are not going to be able to have the holiday parade this year. So that probably is not surprising to any of you, but this is the formal acknowledgement that the holiday parade will not be happening. So instead, we are going to be directing our energy toward reimagining what downtown can look like to celebrate the holidays. We've had a robust holiday decorating contest for the windows of our shops, and we're going to be reimagining that so that it will be called Light Up Downtown. And we're going to be inviting all of the participating businesses to put imaginative lighted displays in their windows. And we'll also be inviting the parklets and also some of the vacant storefronts to be activated with colorful lights and fun celebrations so that people can enjoy a holiday stroll and support the local businesses as on their own time instead of coming en masse at one time to celebrate the parade. So we will be sending a press release about the reimagining of our holiday happenings this week, but you all on this call get to know first that the holiday parade is officially canceled. We're working on ways to reimagine Santa's House in Mission Plaza, as well as the Classic Carousel, and we hope to give you an update on those programs in the weeks that come. Another really fun thing that we launched this past week is we are partnering with SLO Veg, and SLO Veg is a community supported agriculture business that puts together local harvests from local farms and puts together these fantastic produce boxes. And you can now get your produce every Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. I got mine last week and I made an amazing, my culinary horizons were expanded considerably by what came in that box. So we encourage you to sign up at slowveg.com. And if you sign up by Sunday, then you can be part of the SLO Veg pickup, and you can come see us and ask questions as well as get your fantastic produce. So it's not quite farmer's market, but it's a little bit of access to fresh fruits and veggies. If you know anybody who is a resident of the downtown, this is definitely a convenient way to get those fruits and veggies downtown. We also have the Downtown Dine Out program available in Mission Plaza daily from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the tables and chairs are being used. They're appropriately social distanced. You can take your takeout there. I saw some people over the weekend bringing a tablecloth and using cutlery and really making an evening out of it. We're also seeing, people just kind of pop by with an ice cream cone. So that's been a great activation of the Mission Plaza, and that will continue going forward. We are looking forward to our Downtown Volunteer Cleanup Day, and Cassidy will be coordinating this event on October 10th. So save the date, that'll be a Saturday morning. We'll start the day with our downtown foresters, and those are our urban foresters, plant, prune, and protect. We'll come out at 7:30 in the morning to do some work on the trees and make sure our urban forest is doing well. And then from 9:30 to 12:30, we'll be deploying volunteers throughout the downtown to do some additional cleanup to make sure that it's spruced up and cleaned up for the holidays. we continue to work with our different cohorts at our International Downtown Association and in the California Main Street Alliance. So I'll be participating in some online learning through the annual IDA conference, which is coming up at the beginning of October, and definitely looking to share some of the learning that comes from that virtual conference into our calls going forward. But we continue to connect with our cohort around the community. And in fact, I had a really wonderful conversation last week with the new interim executive director of downtown Santa Barbara, so our neighbor to the south. She's just come into the position in May, and we had a conversation that is about downtowns in general and how our specific downtowns are participating in different kinds of programs, opening the street, expanding the right-of-way, and how we're all moving through COVID. That conversation is actually going to be aired on KCBX Issues and Ideas tomorrow at 1 p.m. And that'll be part of a monthly feature that I'm starting to do that'll be called Around Downtown, a monthly feature on KCBX Issues and Ideas, their weekly news magazine program. So look forward to that, and I'll share that information as well. So at this time, we'll go into our weekly posts, our weekly polls. We're coming up at 11 o'clock, so thanks for taking the time to be with us this morning. And the first question today is about your level of confidence. And you can see on the screen before you the polls responses over time. So we've had about a month and a half of responses now. And gosh, it's not predictable to see what happens every day, but we do have a different group of people joining us each week. So it's important to note that, yeah, there's just different people each week. Although some of you are here every week, and I admire and respect your diligence for being with us every week. So thank you for that. We do these polls just to get a sense of how people are feeling in the particular moment. We know that this is not scientific, but just a way to capture in the moment. If you have stepped away from your computer, this would be a great time to come back to the screen and participate. If you are watching on Facebook, unfortunately, we can't do the Zoom polls on Facebook Live, but if you join us on the Zoom, you can. And this one came in. So today, it looks like you're feeling somewhat pessimistic, everybody. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe because we've had some smoke inhalation and there's some challenges out there. Maybe we're concerned about Cal Poly starting up, but maybe we need to have a cookie. I know that's usually what I go for when I'm feeling pessimistic. And our next poll will be our biggest challenge. So what is your biggest challenge facing your business today? Again, I think the outlier here in this poll has always been the uncertain consumer confidence. In the last few weeks, in some of the reading and learning that I've been doing, it seems like consumer confidence is kind of flattening. It's a little bit less uncertain at this time because people are just adjusting and realizing that we're going to be in this for the long haul. So just like we were talking about with Chris on the emergency that happens in the short term versus a long-term emergency, we're now in a new reality. So people's consumption habits have kind of normalized in a lot of ways. And we've also been through some time where we have access to unemployment money that has now run out. There appears that there will not be any additional funding, stimulus funding or relief funding through Congress and the Senate, although that could change. We may see a last minute issue. Today, it looks like, again, that consumer confidence is still the thing that people are the most worried about. So the lack of foot traffic and customers, that one's gone down a little bit. Although I imagine that for many of you, this past weekend, the last 2 weeks with the parents for Cal Poly students and Cal Poly students coming back into town, that amplified the foot traffic. So we may see some lowering of the foot traffic over time. And we're going to keep our eye on that, as well as look for ways to invest in some technology to get some accurate counts about those things. So we are at 11:01. Thank you all for being with us today. We can take any questions you like. You can always, of course, feel free to email us at reachus@downtownslo.com. You can call, text, you can send a pigeon from underneath the creek to come find us, or you can come and knock on our front door. We are closed to the public most of the time, but there will be someone here most days. So thank you. I hope that you all have a good week and that you stay safe from the smoke. Remember to drink lots of water and stay indoors if you can. And we look forward to seeing you next week on September 21st. If you know somebody who wants to be part of the downtown call, please invite them. And we will see you next week.